Good evening. You're welcome to News Recap on News Ghana Club. We are streaming live from our studios here. My name is Nadia Nemaku. On today's edition of News Recap, I have with me here Mr. Michael Kofi, who is a pharmacist and also a gospel artist. And today's topic is on the novel coronavirus itself. So, Mr. Kofi, you are welcome.
Thank you, Nadia, and thank you for having me. Good evening, our series viewers. As you have already rightly been told, I'm Michael Kofi. I'm a pharmacist. I've been practicing pharmacy for the past 24 years. I'm a graduate from KNUST, then UST, when we were there. And then I have my own pharmacy called Health Consult Pharmacy at Tishinungwa Grade Estates. I'm married to my wife Florence for the past 23 years, and we have 3 beautiful children, Michelle, Chelsea, and Maureen. So in summary, that is about me.
That's great. You're welcome once again. Can you briefly explain why this disease is referred to as novel?
Thank you very much. Everything that is novel presupposes that it's one of its kind. That has not happened before. Indeed, coronaviruses have been around in centuries. In fact, the Spanish flu is known to be one of the coronaviruses. MERS, SARS, and even Ebola virus are all known to be coronaviruses. But the reason we say that this one is novel is that the way it is transmitted and the rate of its spread is not ever been encountered with other coronaviruses, because most of them are localized viruses in certain geographical locations. For instance, Ebola is restricted to certain parts of East and West Africa. The SARS was in Asia and then the Middle East, and then the Spanish flu of the 1900s was also in Europe and certain other places in America. But this one is so novel. Its way of spread and all things about it pertaining to it isn't well understood. We are now trying to get to what it's really about. So it is novel because it hasn't been so before. We've not seen one of its kind before.
Great. So COVID has come to stay with us, and there is the need for extra measures to be taken. So could you briefly give us some safety measures that can be taken in place?
Yes. As we all know, we say that prevention is always better than cure. It will better prevent a disease from occurring than go to treat it. And since we said it's novel, now we don't know what specific drugs to use, though now we are trying to or beginning to understand it better. And so certain drugs and certain protocols have started coming up. But when it happened in late December last year in China, and then started spreading into certain parts of the world, notably Europe and now the Americas, we didn't know much about it. So people were dying, and people are still dying though. And so we say it is a disease that has the potential of causing a lot of damage. So we are preventing it. The preventive measures are that stay not too close to another person. So social distancing is very, very important. And one of the best ways of preventing it. For instance, we are sitting about 1 meter apart. It is known that at least when you are sitting about 1 meter apart, the tendency for the particles or the droplets to get to the other person is minimal. But now it is even coming out that the organism is now airborne and can stay in the air for about 8 hours. That is what the WHO has said just this week. So it means that it's even better to distance more. Then secondly, wearing a nose mask. Since the organism has become airborne, you don't know where you could be, and then you inhale the particles or it gets into any part of your body openings, notably the eyes, the nose, okay, which are very important places, and then sometimes even the oral cavity, the mouth. And so wear your what? Nose mask, so that you prevent the disease from getting to you. And then thirdly, washing your hands regularly with running water and then soap. It is known that normal soap that we use can wash it and kill it. Okay, it's protein, so it's denatured in the presence of soap. And so wash your hands regularly in running water, not water if collected into a basin and somebody washes the hand, goes, another person comes. You have the potential of picking the infection from another person. Then fourthly, we are saying that sanitize your hand where there's no water. Then you have these alcohol-based sanitizers, alcohol of up to about 70% concentration. Then you use it to sanitize your hands very well. There's a way of sanitizing. Make sure that you are rubbing your fingers on the other palm where the sanitizer is, and then you turn it over to the other and do same, and then the back of the hands, and then you make sure that you are well sanitized. Okay, and then you are not going to start coughing around without covering your mouth with maybe a tissue. And after you have done that, you fold the tissue and drop it into a bin that is not exposed. Okay, or when you are sneezing, you sneeze into a tissue and then fold it and drop it in a bin, cover it, and wash your hands immediately. Okay, and then also not going to greet people's palms, because you could pick the infection from another people's palms. So we are saying that no more what? Handshaking. Don't go and be hugging people, because you could pick the infection. Okay, and so these are some of the things we can do to prevent ourselves from contracting the virus.
Thank you very much. Would you say that there is the need for more education or awareness to be created among the public with respect to this very deadly disease?
Yes, certainly, I believe so. What I have realized is that most of our educational campaigns is in English, and we know that greater majority of our people can't understand English, and so I believe that is where we are lacking. And I would entreat that we engage people in their local languages and dialects that will help them to appreciate the situation confronting us. As a pharmacist, what I have noticed is that people even come to your pharmacy sometimes, and then they are not wearing nose masks. They don't want to even wash their hands because they feel they don't need to. You have the water outside for them with soap. They don't want to adhere, and I believe that is because they haven't understood very well what is confronting the whole world. And so if we can all join hands to educate people, it will go a long way to help us curb the spread of the disease.
With respect to the ongoing electoral process, we have the young ones participating, adults are also participating, and the old people also participating. What advice will you give in terms of having, especially the older people, participating in the electoral process?
Thank you very much. What I haven't known is whether when the elderly people go there, they are given preferential treatment by making them quickly register and then leave. You know, they are much more susceptible because their immune systems could be going down with age. And the very young people too, at least the up to 18s, they are strong and vibrant, but the elderly ones, it becomes a challenge. So what I would want the Electoral Commission to do, if they are not already doing so, is to give those people who are much more susceptible, say from 50 and above, that preferential treatment, that when they come, based on their age. We have assigned specific people to quickly take care of them, or everybody should understand that when they come, we are going to attend to them first, so that they don't stay for long to have that possibility of contracting the disease. Then those who are going, I also entreat them to at all cost wear nose mask. I was watching the first day of the registration process, and some people did not have nose masks, and when the police confronted them, they said they did not have money to buy nose masks. Well, you might not have money to buy nose masks for 2 cedis, but would you have money to pay for huge medical bills should you contract the virus? I've seen nose masks that are being sold for just 2 cedis. I know for some people it's not easy, but please, walking from home to the registration center, do you know what you must have encountered? Because I've told you that the disease is now airborne.
Yes.
So would you inhale the particles of these viruses before you get there? And even if government should make provision for nose masks over there before you get it. So we have to be responsible for ourselves, our own health, individually and then collectively. I know governments under our scanty resources might not be able to provide everybody with a nose mask even if they wanted to. So individually we should also help ourselves to get these nose masks to prevent ourselves getting contracted. Because you might not have it, but you are not wearing nose mask. Another person might have it, he's not showing symptoms, and will give it to you. Now what we all have to know is that the most dangerous people who are transmitting the viruses are not those who are ill, because those who are ill are probably at home quarantine or in the hospitals. But the people who are going about who are asymptomatic, they have it but they are not showing symptoms, they are the most dangerous people transmitting it. So as I'm sitting here, would you tell from my face that I have it, but I might be a carrier.
Yeah.
And you might not have it, but because you are not wearing nose mask, I give it to you.
Yes.
And then you rather go and suffer. Exactly. My immune system might be different from your immune system. So whilst I am a carrier, it is not affecting me. You might not be a carrier, you might have an active disease if you should contract it. So it behoves on all of us going to the registration centers to wear our nose mask from home. If possible, carry your sanitizer so that in every process, when you go, you sanitize your fingers so you are not going to pick the infection most likely before you get back home. And that is the advice I'll give to all of us.
Okay, that's great. Looking at the current death situation in our various public institutions, especially with the senior high schools, do you accept that the government should have allowed final year students to resume school? Well,
if I got your question right, I don't think there have been death situations yet in the secondary schools. The death that occurred at KNU's UST senior high school was actually related to an ulcer. But then it is indirectly related to COVID, because all the authorities that were there, for fear that it could be COVID, didn't even want to approach that young man to help him, just because he was down and then he was wailing and crying and then he couldn't control himself, and they felt it might be COVID. And I'm so saddened by that death, because as a parent, I don't think if he was my son and even he had COVID, I would look on for him to die. I would have gone to his aid to assist him. And that is where I'll fault the school authorities for the role they also played in this particular death. But then what I gather is that it wasn't COVID, but the boy had an ulcer. And my condolences to the parents for their loss. I don't know what I would have done if he was my son too. But then we all have to be each other's keeper. We could have called the ambulance to come and then check up on him and then taking him to the hospital. The KNUST hospital is just close by the Tech hospital. That's where I schooled. And so I know the hospital is close by that secondary school, so he could have been assisted to get there and then gone for treatment. So those have not occurred yet, but I believe that from the benefit of hindsight, with what happened at Accra Girls, where about 6 students were also found to have contracted the virus, I think government should, as it were, though they mean well, government means well, make the students go back home to be with the parents, because now parents are afraid. I have a daughter who is in final year at KNUST, and she's currently in school. I'm not so happy because I'm afraid. What if all other parents might be afraid? Teachers themselves are afraid, and the students themselves are afraid. So I believe that, like Nigeria and then Kenya governments have done, by saying that for this year no student is going back to school until next year. I don't think it will be out of place if we recall our students, as Israel did when they realized that after opening schools, some children started contracting the virus, and then they had to recall them home. So from the benefit of hindsight, I believe that though government meant well, it is going to be better if these students come back home, and then under the watchful eyes of their parents, they are taken care of. It shouldn't be government's headache now. If they stay at home for 1 year, I don't think it will mean so bad for them. When I was in the university and there was a lecturer strike, we were in final year 1995. That year, no one graduated. We stayed at home. 1996, we went to school and graduated, and still we have been able to achieve something in life. So let's stay at home. Let us get rid of this coronavirus and get our lives back to normalcy.
As a pharmacist, do you have some customers approaching you, showing one concern or the other with respect, mistaking it to be COVID-19, let's say a symptom of COVID-19? Do you have clients approaching you with such concerns?
Yes, I quite remember that a few days ago, this week actually, it was on Monday, a couple came to see me, and the woman's blood pressure was very high. So I started probing. Does your husband worry you? The husband was there. She said, not at all. My husband doesn't worry me. I asked, is it because he's standing here? So no. Oh, my husband is very good. Do you have children? I don't have children. Do your parents have high blood pressure? She says no. Are you stressed at work? I work from home. So what could be triggering this high blood pressure? She says, I don't know. Then I asked, are you writing any exam? She says no. Then I said, are you afraid of something? Then she paused. She said, yes. I said, what is your fear? He said, the coronavirus. I said, oh, not knowing that she's been so much paranoid about it. And the husband will say, yes, she's been so paranoid, and I believe that is the reason. So I started educating her and advising her that how careful can you be? Yes. You have to take steps to adhere to the protocols and pray to God to take care of you, because you can't be more careful than God. So don't be in a state of fear. I started counseling her, and she was happy before she left. A lot more people come with certain symptoms and they say, hey, am I contracting COVID? A lady came and said she couldn't smell or taste food for about 2 weeks. I said, no, for yours, please go and have a test done. The next day she went and had a test, and she was awaiting the results. I don't know the outcome because she hasn't come back.